Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for
Yeah.
coming on.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Uh, so welcome to episode number 153 of the Blitz Take. I'm here with Des Barnes, previewing the Big Ten, ACC, and SEAC, and much more. So welcome, and I'm happy to have you on.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. You had me studying over here, asking me about some of the conferences I don't usually cover that much, but I'm here. I'm excited and I'm ready to get started, of course.
What are your thoughts on how this season is going to be for the Big Ten?
Yeah, well, before I start all that, I do want to just say hello to everyone who may watch this and see this. I'm Des of Pretty Girls Love Sports, Pretty Girls Media, and also I host the Daily Dose with Des podcast show, which comes on daily. It's very premeditated schedule. So I like to stick true to that, and I've been in this field for quite a while now, and I'm really still just getting my feet wet. And I have so many things I want to do and grow, and I'm super excited to be able to come on this platform today. When we're talking about the Big Ten, now the Big Ten, so if you're Big Ten fanatics out there, I apologize in advance. I am not. But I think that the Big Ten is obviously one of the staples within obviously the college football playoffs era, having the last two national championships under their belt. They have, and they really come in and they hold supremacy in some ways, even though I'm an SEC girl. But they have a lot of potential, a lot of great potential coming into this season. Just things that they've heightened and still like their schools and the organizations that they have. I think they're definitely going to make a big splash. And I don't think that it was ever questioned that they wouldn't. I think that they're just going to continue to hold that, neck and neck with the SEC.
Uh, I don't know if you know, but I'm a big Penn State fan, and and I've really enjoyed them the past of my life, and I really like how the quarterback Drew Allo is playing. I feel like that he's going to have a phenomenal season this season. I'm really anxious to see how Katron Allen and all those running back room does for this season. And I know that you haven't paid close attention to Penn State, but what are your thoughts on how their schedule is, and do you think that they can make a run for it in the CBF playoff?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I had to do some homework on. But coming in this year, I mean, last year they were strong, so it's not as if they weren't strong already. They're coming in just as strong as they were last year, if not better. So you're talking about when you talk about the quarterback. Drew has done significant things from him being there. Each year, he has increased his completion percentage. Last year, he was at 66.5 completion, which has put him in the all-time highest completion rate in Penn State history, right? You would know this if you're a big Penn State fan. So seeing him and seeing how he's going to step into that and continue to be a leader on the team. I mean, can he get better? Absolutely. Will he get better? Absolutely. It's already projected that he will do that. So that 66, you can probably look at it going into high 70s, in my opinion. Looking at it too, you guys have a good, or Penn State has a great backfield coming in. I read a few articles and they're coming in, they're being projected to be the best backfield in college football. So making a splash defensively and then having a quarterback being able to heighten his completion ratings, they're definitely going to be high contenders to compete just as they were last season. I think they're going to be in a little better position now with having a good recruiting class, with having good returners on the field, and really just having, like I said, having that running back duo that they have is just something that's just like lights out. And this is, I believe, their fourth year together. So if they're learning and growing together, I can only imagine what that duo is going to be. So they're really explosive on both offense and defense, which is going to obviously make them more competitive in the Big Ten. I do think, though, they have a lot of competition ahead of them. They're not going to it's not going to be an easy run. I think that's the thing about like the Big Ten the SEC, and the ACC maybe a little bit. There's a lot of competition, especially in those top 5 teams. So it's not going to be an easy feat, but I definitely think Penn State has one up on a lot of the teams in their conference for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of the running back duo in Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen. They've been absolute freaks last season, and I hope they continue to do what they've been doing this upcoming season.
Yeah, I feel like it's no way that they won't get better and increase their numbers. Like there's just no way that that's not going to happen. The only way that doesn't happen is if, God forbid, knock on some wood in here, right, that one of them has a significant injury and then you start to see those numbers decline. But if even though there's 2 as a dynamic duo, all you really need is one to be able to get the job done. So I don't see any decline within Penn State. If anything, they're going to beef it up this year for sure.
Mm-hmm. So moving on to the AAC, I'm also a fan of Tulane. That's where my sister goes to, and I know that they've been doing pretty decent over the past couple of years. And what are your thoughts on the depth chart and coming into the season?
Yeah, well, now that makes sense about these questions here. The Tulane, the Penn State, like some of this is very random to me. I don't know. But for me, I'm an Army girl. So, I don't care about Tulane too much as long as the Army does what needs to be done, right? And, coming in, they're going to drop the AAC. They're just going to be the American Conference at some point. So I think that's super exciting with the American Eagle. It just makes a lot of sense, especially having, especially having Navy and Army within that conference is like the American Conference. I think Tulane is in a very hard position because they lost a lot of their players. So the top passer, the top pass catcher, and I think I wrote this down. The top runner, it says runner. The top runner returner has all gone. So basically, a lot of their top players got on out of there. And the thing about it is, where they're ranked, they have Temple, Army, ECU, Memphis, and Navy. All of those people are above them. So it's like, it's going to be kind of hard and kind of difficult for them to really, in my opinion, I feel like get up there. Anything can happen. That's one thing we know about football. Anything can happen. Can they be competitive? Absolutely. Will they be competitive? Probably not as much as they were last season, because this season they're coming in. They have a lot of new changes. They had a big recruiting class in terms of the transfer portal. They're a little smaller on the true freshmen with their portal. With their recruiting. So I think they can definitely be up there. They're projected to be 6, I think, in the coming in the American Conference. So if they're 6, they're definitely not making it to the conference championship. But again, anything can happen. This is all preseason. This is all, that team may get together and really mesh well on the field. Like they have a great coach and that can lead them to success. It's just who is going to make the wave and the splash coming into this upcoming season. But they're not gonna be Army. So that's all I have to say. Not beating Army.
What made you be an Army fan?
I was in the Army, so it's like it's kind of like an unspoken rule. Like there's just Army is Army forever.
Have you been going to Army Navy games every year?
Those are really hard to get into. I've worked an Army Navy game, which was great, super duper cold. But I feel like I have to try to get a ticket like 3 years in advance, because the tickets sell like this. They have very specific clubs when it comes to like Army club and Navy club, and the way that they do tickets and the way that they do the process of getting those tickets. And as you know, like the game every season is sold out, and it's sold out at like the beginning of the season. Once they figure out where's it going to be located, having it at Lincoln Memorial Field and things, or Financial Field. So it's really not something that I have been able to get to yet, but I feel like when I get there, oh yeah, we're going all out. But I have been to some Navy games, just being in Maryland and being able to go on base. You can go to those Navy games, and they're also exciting, but nothing beats obviously Army Navy.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on how their schedule is for this season?
For Army, I think, or Tulane, which one we're talking about?
Army.
I think Army's schedule. I don't know. I feel like Army has a decent schedule. They have an opportunity to be great. It's the same thing I think about Navy, and I think that the conference as a whole, although they're not as competitive as some other conferences, I always think that they pretty round out the schedules pretty well and pretty decently. So I think they have just some exciting things coming up. And I'm excited to see what this Army team looks like coming in this year. Like last year, they were amazing. Obviously, they lost in the Army Navy game, but for them to get all the way to the AAC championship and to win it, you know who they beat. We're going to leave it at that. For them to get there and win it was just something that was like, it's so prideful. It's like, wow, this is great. So obviously we want them to go back again and win it again. But really in our traditions, we really want to win that Army Navy game. So I was super happy and excited that they won the conference championship. And then when it got to Army Navy, I'm like, man, I know that they're tired. I know they want to just take a break. I know that they're just over it, but you're supposed to win this game too. So I think the schedule this year, I think what they have coming, I'm really excited to see.
Who do they open up with?
I don't know. Let me see. Who do they open up with? Army Navy, not Army Navy. Somebody's Army football schedule. They open up with Tarleton State, and then they play Kansas State, and then North Texas. So they should be able to beat all three. They should open up the season 3-0, in my opinion. Yeah.
So my next question is, how do you get together like all the media things that you do on a daily basis and keep a schedule flowing with like watching games and stuff?
I'm still trying to figure that out. So every year has been very different. Every year has been tailored very differently. So this will be my third year. This is my third year, like fully immersed into doing this game to game thing, covering games, doing the media things. So every year has been very different. My first year was absolutely chaotic. I feel like I just was like throwing noodles at the wall, and whatever stuck is whatever I was going to do, wherever I was going to be, because I was just happy to be in the environment, happy to be in the space. And I think starting out, you can't really be super picky about where you go, where you end up. You just kind of go with it, and you make the best out of all of your opportunities. And then my second year, which was last year, I came in very strategic. I wanted to cover specific schools. So me going in person was Georgia Tech and Clemson. So I became an ACC girly when it comes to reporting and really learning their athletics. And then I went into their basketball athletics and women's and men's basketball and following through March Madness. So I really kind of enmeshed myself into two ACC schools and really kind of evolved in that way. And then I also, my videographer that helps me from time to time and who has really been a really staple to what this dream has become in terms of making a reality. He does HBCU, so he's super big on HBCU. So I had to then understand and get into the notion of, okay, we have to get into this HBCU football stuff, and you have to really pay attention because he sends me like interviews all the time, and I have to be able to be like, okay, what are my thoughts about this? And he's like, I want you to do this, and you got to just go with it. So he is really, a staple on Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M. He's also a Jackson State fan. So coming in with that, I'm like, okay, those are very strategic approaches that I have to do. So I also followed FAMU for 2.5, 3. This will be my third year as well. So having so many different schools, and then outside of that, me being a fan. So I'm a fan of football in general. I'm a fan of sports in general. So I also want to make sure that I allow myself to have time to be a fan as well, because my fan perspective allows me to be able to put my reporter perspective all together, if that makes sense. So how do I watch sports? I don't know. I just I just do everything, because my show, I literally am talking about everything: NASCAR, tennis, equestrian, football, hockey. I love hockey as well. So kind of diving into that. So my football schedule kind of floats in between all the other sports, and luckily football is like kind of within itself, has its own scheduling, but then other sports start at the same time. So I think I'm still just trying to figure out, like, how does my sports schedule actually work? I know I take the most of July off because I need a break, like June and July. I'm like, this is summer sabbatical, because I do so much. Like last season, I covered the Olympics when they were here, well, being in Paris. So the schedule part is I'm still figuring it out. And then everything else just comes. Everything else is very strategic, though. I know that was like a long ramble of me answering that question, but it's kind of hard to answer when it's like everything, it just floats in the air. I'm not I also work with MTV Sports, so that they have HBCU football, and I also do college football on their end too. So it's kind of like figuring out where am I needed and when am I needed the most.
Are you a big writer, like recapping games and stuff?
Yeah, I do write. I actually have my own digital newspaper, so it's called the Playmakers Press, and it's a free newspaper that is on my website. And I started to do this newspaper because I was like, okay, I'm going sometimes, like when basketball starts, well, at least last season, this season, I'm hoping to do the same exact thing I did, if not bigger, right? I want to actually get into baseball more, collegiate baseball. But last season, I'm like, wow, okay, sometimes I'm covering 3 to 4 games in a week. So I'm doing maybe a Clemson football game, and then I'm doing a Clemson basketball game, men's and women's. And then I'm doing a Georgia Tech game, and I'm doing Georgia Tech basketball. And then I'm covering maybe the Atlanta Gladiators that's ECHL hockey. And I'm like, I have a lot of articles that I'm writing here per week. Let me put these all in one space. So I put them all in that space. But outside of that, I do write. Again, I'm hoping to be back writing for MTV for Georgia Tech this season, and all the other sports that I've kind of been involved with. So NBA G League in Atlanta, sort of College Park Skyhawks. So once all that starts, it kind of just all blends together. So I write heavily, and like I have a notebook where it's like this here, or I write articles on my phone all the time, and then I have to translate them into professional sounding articles and stats, and being able to reciprocate what I actually saw, and then being, subjective and objectively both when it comes to my writing. So yeah, big writer, big talker.
What are your thoughts on how the ACC, the SEC is this year? I know that you're big into that conference, and what team are you going to follow the most in that conference?
Yeah, so you said the ACC or the SEC, or you said both?
I'm about to say SEC.
SEC?
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay. It's trying to figure this out. I should be asking you that question. You don't even like the SEC. I feel like you follow everything but the SEC. I didn't get a lot of SEC questions on here. But I am a Tennessee fan, so it's Tennessee, everything from basketball, football, baseball, everything. So I obviously follow Tennessee very heavily, very strongly. Also, just being in Georgia and covering a lot of Georgia sports. Georgia is Georgia. You can't follow anything of SEC and not follow Georgia. I do look forward to seeing what the Texas Longhorns are going to do this season. They're projected pretty high once again. So is Georgia. All the SEC teams. Really, when you look at the football index, 11 out of the 19 teams in the football index are SEC teams. So South Carolina, I think they have Lenore Sellers over there, who's I think is going to step in even more than he did last year as being the quarterback. He's super explosive. Really want to see what he does and how he grows. And his brother's also on the team too. So he's always coming in on a recruiting class for the team. So that's going to be super duper exciting to see that dynamic. The last time that they were together, they won a championship. So going to be super exciting to see. Could go either way, but I definitely think that South Carolina is going to be one of those top teams Tennessee coming in with a new quarterback and having to move some really key parts. I think that's going to be also a toss up to see what they're going to do. I think they're going to be successful because why would I think anything else rather than that? I think Georgia is going to be also coming in having to face it with a new quarterback, but the quarterback that led them in the last half of their season when they lost their quarterback, I think he is going. I think he's returning. So Georgia is just Georgia. I feel like they're always in the top 2, and usually they're not 2. So I think Georgia is going to be super duper explosive as always coming in. Who else in top? I think Alabama. Alabama has an opportunity to turn things around, to roll the tide back into the way and traditionally being the Alabama that we know, we've seen, and a lot of people have either learned to love or hate. So I think this is their time to kind of fight back. Ole Miss last year was a surprise for me. So was Florida. But I think Ole Miss has an opportunity to really climb the ladder there. Same with. There's just a lot of competition in the SEC, so it's kind of hard to be like, whoa, I think this team is going to take it. But I think arguably within those top 5 to 10, you're really going to see what they're going to do. Vanderbilt was a surprise as well. I think the SEC is just, they have a lot of playoff contenders. Again, looking at the football index, they're slating, I don't know how you get a 0.6 of a team, but they're saying 4.6 teams out of the SEC are slated to be, qualifying for the college football playoffs. So, I think the SEC is just going to continue to be, there's a fly. I think the SEC is going to continue to be just the SEC that we know it is, the competitive conference that we know it is. And I think Texas, I think it's going to be the battle of the quarterbacks, really. I want to see what these new quarterbacks and the returning quarterbacks are going to do this year. The quarterbacks are going to make or break some of these games for sure.
I have a 2-part question. What SEC quarterback do you think will be the number 1 ranked quarterback of the season? And my second part is how many of the Tennessee games will you be able to attend in person?
Yeah. I think the obvious answer is going to be Manning coming out of this. He's the most talked about quarterback right now. And I see why. And it's his time to shine. So, I mean, I'm not going to go against the grain there. I should have went against the grain and just pick somebody random, but I'm not going to do that. I think, like I said, I think a couple teams coming in are going to have new quarterbacks. So they're going to have to work that thing out. And I think that the returning quarterbacks, this is their time to really step in and shine. Like I said, like the Lenore Sellers, like it's really going to be his time to step in and shine against new quarterbacks in this conference. Alabama, new quarterback, so there's opportunities there for these quarterbacks to shine, for them to come in, Manning and Sellers to come in kind of 1 and 2 if they actually do what they're supposed to do. And for Tennessee, I am going to make it right now, I'm going to make it a thing that I at least go to 1. Obviously, college football, a lot of the games going on at the same time. My goal is to obviously be back with Clemson and hopefully Georgia Tech. And then I cover some HBCU sports when they're on breaks, HBCU games when they're on breaks. So I don't really have a lot of time to attend Tennessee games, but they're on the TV every chance I get to watch. But I want to go to at least 1 in person. I think last year I was in Knoxville when they were playing. Who were they playing? I can't remember who they were playing. It was around my birthday. So an October game, and environment was amazing. Everything about Knoxville lights up when it's game day. So I have to make sure that I'm there in the know, boots on the ground with my people in the orange, just doing all of the things. So I am going to at least 1 game this season. It'll probably be, like I said, a game when I literally have a blank square on my calendar, and that's when I'll be there. And I also am going to try to go to one of their traveling games on the road. Maybe I want to go to that Vanderbilt game when they're in Vandy, because I love Nashville. So I don't know, but that may be 2. There may be two, one home, one away, but I'm definitely going to do at least one this year for sure.
Are you going to attend any games outside of the region?
Um, for college, probably not. The region of like my region's pretty large, so I go Virginia, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama. So that region is pretty big. So outside of that, probably not. Not college football wise, no. NFL, likely yes. I plan to. I'm a Pittsburgh fan, so I plan to be in Pittsburgh for one of the games. It's like my tradition as well, and those happen on Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. So I have lots of chances there. But outside of that, for college, probably not. No. Unless somebody calls me and is like, hey, do you want to come up here? And I'm like, of course. But otherwise than that, no. Are you attending any games? What are you doing?
I wish that I was closer to State College. I'm like 3 or 4 hours away.
Yeah, that's not bad though. It's not bad.
Yeah.
I'm always in the car. So anything under I don't even like 6 hour drives, but I say 5 hours and under is not horrific. It's not horrific, you know. It's funny he's about to travel outside the region too much. I do want to go to Colorado, but getting in Colorado, oh my gosh. I want to see Coach Prime so bad. But if I do, that will probably be the only game outside of my immediate region that I'll travel for. And honestly, I'll go as a fan or I'll go as media. Everything I do, even if I'm a fan, I also make it media because I can make content and talk about it in a way that makes it like I was a media being there. So fan or media fan.
I'll probably attend at least one Villanova and Temple game.
Yeah, Temple is looking pretty good. I mean, they need to get back relevant. They haven't been relevant in a very long time.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how deep their roster is this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, there was that scandal with the president of Temple, and like they were praying they didn't take football away. So I think they have to turn things around very quickly. Like this team needs to start winning. This team needs to bring in some money. This team needs to really show why Temple football is relevant. Because their president came from Drexel, and as you know, Drexel does not have a football program, and they focus on academics and the arts and things like that. So if Temple doesn't want to turn into Drexel, they need to turn it around fast, quick, fast, and hurry, for sure.
So, what made you want to be in the position that you are today with being part of the media and doing your podcast on your platform and everything else?
Yeah. I think for me, once my time was done in the Army, I was really trying to do things that I was passionate about, things that I could wake up every day or have sleepless nights over and not complain about it. And quite frankly, I'm often exhausted doing this because I'm a one-woman show for the most part. But it's something that I love, and it's something that is like, okay, there's nothing that I would do differently. Like I wouldn't take anything away. So I got into it because I've always been passionate about sports. It was one of my favorite pastimes with my grandmother. We would sit and watch sports. I mean, I vividly remember, that's why I'm a Pittsburgh fan, of us getting together and watching football games, and we're watching Pittsburgh, even though she also was a Miami Dolphins fan. Don't ask me about that. I don't know. But I wanted to do something that was very easy for me to do, something that I was passionate about and something that I just love, because a lot of the work that I do is unpaid works, right? So it's doing something that I love if I'm not getting paid for it. And I think a lot of time, I started off doing the opposite. I didn't start in sports when I first got out of the Army. I had a business plan. I was making lip gloss and selling boutique fashion and all types of stuff. And I wasn't interested in it. I'm like, I don't want to make lip gloss at 3 a.m. I don't want to do that. So I had to figure out and navigate my journey as to what am I going to do that I actually feel like if I'm up at 4 a.m. and I'm editing a video, or if I'm up at 4 a.m. trying to figure something out, am I going to still love it the same way the next day. And sports was that for me. Sports has been something that I've always just had an eye for. So I just said, okay, well, how do we step into a space where there's not a lot of people who I feel look like me, resemble my personality, resemble who I stand for as a girl. And I just was like, okay, well, we're going to just start our own lane here. And if I get opportunities, then we're going to take them and we're going to be very grateful for them. But I also have to make opportunities for myself. So being a content creator is like, okay, well, I used to go, every year before I started this business, I was going to at least one Pittsburgh game. And then I was like, well, okay, as a content creator, I have these photos and videos of me having a game day experience. Why not start to use that? Why not create that opportunity for myself? And that has led me to being a dance director and being able to do content for those women and really shine a light on them. And I really started, another reason why I really started too is because I wanted to shine more on women's sports and women in sports and in any level. So I did a whole women in sports when I first started, articles and graphics about women who are in sports in various ways, from team owners, from the first female NFL coaches to NFL refs to tennis, all these other sports that people are really not talking about. And I really wanted to learn what is going on around me. Who are these amazing women, and how can I take a little bit of their journey and apply it to my own journey and really just make it blossom into something that is bigger than I could have ever dreamt. And day to day and year to year, as I've been in this, it's becoming bigger. And it's gotten to a point where I did not imagine that I would be sitting here on a podcast talking to somebody about my journey of being here. I could have never imagined that me just trying out for, trying and pressing my luck, that getting a content credential was ever going to be in my future. I never thought that I would be able to sit on, the media press level at a NBA G League game. I've never thought that when I started this journey, but I think, again, having that passion and love for it and really being able to never take no for an answer, or never, take my slights or my downfalls for like, that's what it's going to be. I think that that's kind of helped me in my journey and wherever I want to be. And at some point, I'm just waiting for ESPN, Fox Sports, somebody, ABC, anybody to give me a call, even local news, Greenville, hello, anybody wants to call me and say, hey, do you want to come on there and be our beat reporter? You want to come on here and host a podcast on our network? Like, I would love doing that. So, we're still up in the air with
that. I know I haven't really gotten into watching the HBCU games at all lately. But what are some games that you think that will be great to tune into this season?
Yeah, for HBCU space, I think all of them are great, but very specific ones. Obviously, week 0 starting off with the MEAC SWAC kickoff challenge. That'll be Southern University versus North Carolina Central University. That's one of the bigger games for HBCU. And again, that's the start of the football season. Another one I think that is going to be really big, because I had to write these down because I have very specific ones. Another one would be the Orange Blossom Classic that happens during Labor Day weekend. That's going to be featuring Florida A&M University and Howard University. So both really good coaches over there, really great programs within their standing. And FAMU is at one of the top in the SWAC. So I think that's going to be great. The what is it called? The Boombox Classic, that's typically Southern and Jackson State, is going to be a great one. It's always that's a classic. For the lower levels in D2, I would say Clark Atlanta and Florida Memorial. That's just a really great matchup there. The Battle of the Auk is Clark Atlanta versus Morehouse, and that's a big Atlanta-based game. So it's really kind of like a showdown. That Clark Atlanta and Florida Memorial game is actually the Sunshine Showdown game. So that's going to be really big there. Another big one is Bethune-Cookman versus FIU. And that's a big one only because that FIU is now coached by the previous head coach for FAMU, head coach Willie Simmons. And he also was a running backs coach at Duke last year. So he's navigated into his space and is back to head coaching. So that's a really good game as well. And then I have 2 more for you. We have the Las Vegas Classic. I think this is like the first time ever. So they'll be playing in Las Vegas. That's Jackson State versus Grambling State University. Super, super. It's going to be super big. Both of those alumni bases are really big and travel really well. And then you have FAMU versus Mississippi Valley State University, and that game is going to be played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. So they've moved that to a bigger venue. FAMU has a really big alumni base in Atlanta, so that's really going to be like a FAMU home game, but that's going to be one of the games that they actually put on the higher scale for this season. So HBCU-wise, those are the best ones that you should be looking out for this season. Lots of them.
Thanks for the rundown of that.
Yeah. I gotta represent, I gotta represent. Now, I don't want anybody from the SWAC or the MEAC watching this and they're like, how dare you not say our games? Like, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So what are some of the next episodes that you'll be doing in the coming weeks leading up to week 1 for college football and everything else?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the Daily Dose with Des, that show is, like I said, is scheduled out weekly. So this week it's Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. And then next week it'll probably be those same days, if not more days. So those shows will be daily, not every day, because we couldn't do it. I can't do every day. I try, but I can't. But they'll be daily, so they'll come on. So I really post that schedule on Instagram just to let people know, like, if you want to tune in. But the rebroadcast is always on YouTube at Pretty Girls Love Sports. And that's mainly what I'm going to be doing. And then once the MEAC SWAC Challenge gets here, which is August 23rd, we're going to be full blown. I'm going to have a show every Saturday at that point, and then whatever school I'm doing after that. So hopefully it'll be Clemson again. So we'll have a Clemson recap show every week, Georgia Tech recap show, and then any HBCU games in between that. So they'll be coming on once football starts.
I'm also a really big college basketball fan, and I was wondering if you were gonna do some content with that.
Yeah, I always do basketball content. I started my basketball content during March Madness, and I only followed women's basketball at first, my first year. And then I had so many people like, why are you not following men's basketball? I'm like, listen, let the women get some love. Women's basketball, especially women's college basketball, has really taken off in the last few years. Mm-hmm. So obviously they're getting more lights and more shine, right? But last year I followed all of the March Madness for men's and women's. I actually have my brackets on my big board still sitting over here. So yes, I always make that content. Again, hopefully I'm back at the ACC schools. I typically like to stay where I'm at. If I'm going to cover Clemson football, I want to cover Clemson athletics in general. If I'm covering Georgia Tech, I want to cover Georgia Tech in general. The SEC is a lot harder to get into. They want so many other things. Like you have to have like 1 million followers or something. And I don't have that quite yet. I'm not there yet. It's nowhere near. But I covered the SEC in terms of if anything. So I love South Carolina coach Dawn Staley. I think what she's doing is immaculate. Juju Watkins at USC is super duper big over there. I think obviously Tennessee basketball, men's and women's, is on the radar consistently. So there's a lot of basketball content, a lot of basketball articles that I write about, whether if I'm at the game or not. If I can watch the game, I can write an article about it because I've watched it. So I have my prevalence there. And then I'll go to a couple games. I've been to the Georgia basketball games, really, really great games, by the way. And I'm not a Georgia fan, but great games. And I've made some content with them too. So I hope to do more of that. The UGC, me going to game recap content as well.
So when is the next episode going to take place this week? And what are the topics that my viewers can hear and listen?
Yeah, so the next show is tomorrow. It is tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What are the topics? Well, I don't know yet. I was planning and I had to study for this today. So usually how the topics go is I like to sit and see what's big in the news. So, the Raiders news about them cutting their player who was a previous Clemson champion. So he got cut. So that'll be on there. We're going to talk a little bit. I didn't talk about UFC with Clarissa Shields and her winning and defending her undisputed champion title. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We got some other things to talk about on there. I really have to gather those topics. So I literally take the day before and kind of like the day of to really gather topics that that way they kind of stays relevant, because the last thing I want to do is talk about topics. And I do kind of do some of those evergreen topics. Like I'll bring in some older topics that'll come in. But like Monday's show, I talked about, head coach Deion Sanders and him doing the hard launch of his, being cancer-free, and also the dating rumors, Tom Brady and Sofia Vergara. I talked about just the NFL training camp and those players coming into that. So it'll be what is in the news and what's hot. And then if I find a topic that needs to be discussed further, then I'll also bring that up. So you get a nice blend of everything going on over there. And it's really one of those shows of you want to stay in the know and you don't want to swipe through ESPN 100 articles a day, you can come and get the main topics and get the dose of what you need over there on my show.
Yeah, I've been starting to watch your content. I think either last week or the week before, and I've been really enjoying every topic that you cover for each episode, and I look forward to watching the next one and the next one after that and more.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Any support is good support. If you got some topics too, just go ahead and let me know. I'm always open for topics and, talking about and giving my input on what the viewers want to see and hear. So a lot of times I have people like my friends, a lot of them are not into sports and they only watch sports if I'm doing an episode. So I have to really break it down. Like, okay, let's talk about this. I'll probably do some MLB content tomorrow too, because I haven't talked about MLB in a while. But it's like, okay, let me explain this way. And I'm talking about, Houston and what they got going on. So I really think that taking what viewers want to hear is super important in developing my content as a whole, because I don't want to talk about things that people don't want to hear about. That's kind of
speaking of baseball. Are you a Braves fan?
I am not a Braves fan. I'll support the Braves. Support their Braves, obviously. I'm trying to get in. They have an HBCU game every year, so I would love to be able to cover that. But I am not a Braves fan. I'm a supporter of the Braves, though. I'm a Yankees fan, and that's just the way that it is. So. Mm-hmm.
I'm a diehard Phillies fan.
Okay. I grew up liking the Phillies a little bit when I had Howard. But even though where I'm from is very close to Philly, I have, my family tend to lean more toward like New York. I don't know how we got in Pittsburgh, but New York, Pittsburgh. So my mom's a Dallas Cowboy fan. So I don't even know how the geographical map of fandom is kind of crazy in my family. So I guess that's why I'm a little all over the place too.
I think we covered a ton on this episode, and I wish you the best of luck with everything. And I'll definitely have you on back again sometime throughout the next couple of months. And yeah, I enjoy everything that you do.
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to come on here, to chat and to talk about things and to further my knowledge and my studying. I guess now I have to keep up with Penn State and Tulane for you, so I can come back and talk about it in the next coming months. But again, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.